Hey, what's up? This is Paul Russell Parker III. You also might know me as PRP3 the author. Now, what I want to do with this video was talk to everyone who's active duty military, who's in the Guard or Reserves, who have drilled or is drilling or called up. And I want to just talk to you about why it's important to go to medical while you're still in the military, while you're still active, while you're still drilling or called up and whatnot. Now, the importance is twofold. One is if you're hurt, you get fixed, you get better. You're not going to continue to be hurt, so that's always a positive. Another reason why you should go to medical while you're in the military is if you get hurt, you don't know how bad that injury is and how it's going to affect you later on in life. And what I kind of mean by that, how it affect you later on in life, and why it's good to get it documented while you're in, is because you might do a VA claim when you get out. And if you do a VA disability claim when you get out, and if you put one in and you don't have any records of you going to the medical while you're active duty or in or whatever in the military, they're not gonna, approve your claim. You're gonna get denied. You're not gonna be service connected for the injury. It might even be the case where you get out 5 years after you get out, you go to your private care provider and you seek medical attention, and then you realize, you know what, I got hurt when I was in, so let me put a VA claim in for this. And the VA is going to say, well, we see where it started 5 years after you got out. That's when you started seeking treatment. That's the beginning of the injury as far as we're concerned, because there's nothing that shows that you were injured or you were hurt while you were active duty. There's no records. And if there's no records, there's no records. You're not going to get approved. So those two are the main reasons why you should go to medical while you're in, because you don't want to be like me and many other veterans later on in your life, trying to put in claims and getting things denied because, you sucked it up. You toughed it out. You were taught, you were told pain is weakness leaving the body. So you were like, I'm not going to go to medical. I'm not going to, seek treatment. I'm just going to walk it off. And this also goes for people who have subordinates who want to go to medical. I know I probably was guilty of it. I know most people are. You tell people who get hurt. I think I have. I'm pretty sure I did too. I tell people like, it's pain is weakness leaving the body. You're all right. Walk it off or take some Motrin. You should be fine. That same thing happened to me, and that's a problem. A lot of people will think, well, I'm fine. I'm good. I got hurt like that. There's nothing wrong with me. So you kind of project that onto someone else, and they might not be as fine as you. They might not be as healthy as you, or the injury may have been worse for them than it was for you. You don't know that. No one will know unless they go to a doctor and have it checked out. So it's very important to do that, because I know the military is a very you know, tough, macho type organization where you think like, oh, I'll be weak. So everyone will perceive me as weak if I go seek medical treatment. Or you might treat someone as weak, like, oh, that person needs to go to medical. Oh man, they're either trying to get out of work or they're not fit for this organization. They need to get out because they're always looking to get out of work, or they're too, they're a weak body, not knowing that, hey, they may have suffered a real substantial injury that needs medical attention, and that's not because they're a weak body or that they have uh some kind of ill intent and they want to get out of work. Some people do, and they'll try to make things up, but a lot of other people are seriously hurt and they don't want to be singled out. I know I was in that same boat where I had injuries, I broken nose and whatnot, and I didn't see treatment. I was told yeah, who doesn't get a broken nose in the military? They're not gonna do nothing for you. You just why even go? So that was one thing with that was one thing that I could never get service connected, because even though there were witnesses, there's no records. So it is important for you to go to medical. It's important for you to let other people go to medical. Also, letting other people go to medical is not a negative thing. Even if they are malingering and trying to get out of work, let the doctor find that out for you. You may have a lot of personal experience, but you're not able to properly diagnose an injury. I know that I was called a malingerer at one point because I was hurt. I was actually injured in Iraq during the 2003 invasion of Iraq with the 1st Marine Division. I was a lance corporal. I ended up hurting my legs, while I was on that deployment. And I think I pushed through it for 9 months. I had a lot of pain, a lot of trouble with even just walking. Running was torturous. But after I got back to my base, I would start to fall out of runs. People were like, "What's wrong with you?" And they started looking, like, "What's is he just not trying or whatever?" And I kept on thinking like, "Well, why can't I run? Like, what's going on?" So it got so bad that I started having like the pain and there's swelling, like lower legs parts were, swollen. So I was like, I have to go to medical. And at one point it was like believed that I didn't have a problem because how could I go so long without receiving treatment and be hurt for so long and not say anything? So that was when I was called a malingerer. And I ended up getting MRIs and X-rays, and they found all these things wrong with my legs. I ended up having to get it cast to try to help some of the stuff heal better, and it really hurt me because in the long run, it instead of healing, it's degenerative now. Like my joints have gotten worse, and they're gonna continue to get worse because I didn't want to be called out. I wanted to push through it. I didn't think I needed treatment, and other people didn't think I needed treatment either, which is, why I believe that if you have subordinates, let the doctor be the judge of what's real and what's not. You can have your doubts, but let them go, let them figure it out. And if it's real, hey, you just help somebody. If it's fake, you know, that's when you write up your charges and whatnot. But so, like I said, it's important to go. It's important to let people go. And this is a reason why it's also important because when you go and try to put in a claim later on in life, if you never had records for it, it will never get approved. You're going to be going around social media asking people, hey, how do I put a claim in for this? How my claim got denied, my supplemental claim got denied, my appeal was denied. And you're going to find out quickly that it's all going to be denied for forever and ever. So get the records, get all that done, because this is what I'm trying to get ahead is a lot of injuries might happen. Like I was injured, I was 18 years old. I joined when I was 17, but I received one injury when I was 18. I went to medical because it was a severe joint trauma injury, and I had it looked at, had it treated, and that was it. Never went back to medical. And I want to say 16 years later, I got out of the military after 4 years. So this was like 12 years after I got out of the military, 12, 13, 14 years later after I was out. I ended up having a lot of issues with that joint. Now, it didn't just pop up. After a couple years, it had steadily gotten worse and worse and worse to a point where I'm having bad pains and bad problems. So I was able to go to medical, my own doctor, have it looked at, and then they said, well, when did you first hurt your finger? And come to find out, I hurt it when I was in the military, and I was able to put in a claim for that, and they said, yeah, even though this happened 18 years ago, it's there. We see it. You still have a problem with it. We see that it's gotten worse from when your original treatment record happened. Yeah, it's service connected, and they service connected me for it. So like I said, that's why it's also important, because you might think you're 18, 19, 20, you got hurt, you don't need to go to medical because you can walk it off, you're strong. And you may think that that's it, and it won't bother you later on. You're not even thinking about the future. You're not thinking about 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if an injury is going to, come back and, eat all the cartilage out of your joints and whatnot. You're not going to think about that. But it's important because those things will happen. Some injuries won't, some things, some problems you'll have won't rise on later on in life. And that's, and that's what it is. But a lot of things will. And what I want to point out about some things that happen to you in the military may never happen again when you get out. Well, that's the thing. If you put in a claim for something that you were injured or had an ailment when you're in the military, and it was something that was treated and you're fine, well, you can't go on later in life and put in a disability claim for it, because they're going to say, oh, yeah, we saw it happen. We saw that you had a problem, but you know, um, there's no follow up treatment records. There's no other treatment records. You never ever sought treatment for it. You never had problems with it later. It was a one time deal, a one time injury. It's not, sir. It's not a disability. It's not something that's affecting you from being able to work and, you know, earn, something that happened a long time ago. So, like I said, it may not even help you later on in life to get something looked at, but you should get something looked at. You should get everything looked at, whether it helps you or not. Because like I said, you want to be healthy. You want to make sure you're healthy, so your unit, your military platoon or squadron or whatever you're in, can be effective, and battle ready. You want to be battle ready. And here's another tip I would tell you if you're active duty or drilling and whatnot. Well, let's say you've been in for 4 years, you just reenlisted, or you've been in for 6 years, or you're going on 8 years and you're not reenlisting, you're getting out. You're going on 12 years and you're getting out. You said, hey, I have a better situation outside the military than inside the military. I need to get out because I got job waiting and whatnot. Well, let's say you've been in for 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, 12 years, and you're gonna get out, and you're gonna do yourself a disservice if you've been injured in the military and don't get it looked at before you get out. Like I said, I want you to be able to be healthy for the rest of your life and have an injury treated, but it's also something to cover your bases. Let's say when you first joined the military, you got hurt. You got hurt in boot camp or basic training. You got hurt in AIT or MOS school or school of injury, whatever. And you are getting out years later, and you may not even think that you should bring it up. You shouldn't go to medical for it, but I suggest go to medical. Go to medical and tell them, hey, be truthful, be honest. If it's something that hurt you and is still hurting you, go to medical and say, I was injured, back in 2000, whatever, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and it's still bothering me. I just want to get it checked out just to, and that will help cover your base, because that's a military service record, a military medical service record that shows, hey, you did seek, even though it happened to you earlier in your career, you were still seeking treatment for it, later on in your career. So go to medical, it's documented, and that'll help you as well. Because I know several people, myself included, like I said about one injury. No, yeah, I had another injury when I was in boot camp where I didn't say anything. I didn't even want to get recycled. I didn't want to, have to repeat anything. I wanted to get out, graduate with my platoon, and just keep, get out of there, get out of boot camp, and go on to the next step. Where I didn't, say anything, and I should have said something years later after I got out of boot camp and said, hey, before I get out, I was injured when I was in, and this is what happened, because that was an injury that affects me later on in life that I can never get service connected because there was no record. Even if I was getting out in a month, I still should have said something to have a record, and then I should have sought treatment after I got out. So yeah, it's going to be a rough time with the VA, and a lot of people think they don't need to go to the VA. Like I said, you might not want to go to the VA. You might not need to go to the VA. I know when I first got out, I put in like 1 or 2 claims and got a few things service connected when I first got out, and that was fine for me. It was good. Later on in life, 10 years later, 12 years later, I got more things service connected, which was good. Because, like I said, if something happens to you, you lose a job, you had good medical, and now you lost your job, and you got to make other payments. You're more worried about making mortgage or rent. You're more worried about food. You're more worried about fuel or electricity. You don't want to make the COBRA payments. The COBRA payments are too high to maintain your medical insurance. You might, say, I'm not going to get all that stuff I'm not going to pay for medical. I'm just going to, you know, find another job. And you might go for a while without a job. I know I went for one year. I went 9 months without a job when I lost my job, and I was looking for another job, and I ended up getting a job. The best job out there for me I was working 10 hours a week, and then I got another job as part time, and I didn't have medical with those jobs, and and I had injuries that were aggravated from the military that were hitting me at that time, and since I wasn't able to get that self service connected, I was having to pay out of pocket, because at one point I was paying for my own insurance to, because everyone was supposed to pay for their own insurance, and and um and while I was paying for it, I was picking plans that were low premiums but high deductibles. So I was having to pay a lot of money out of pocket for these, deductibles. And then there was a point where, I didn't have insurance um, as well. And during this same time frame, because a lot of things were going on. I was in, I had injuries aggravated. I had an immediate family member that was having problems with medical conditions, and lost my job. Had to move. A lot of things were going on. So, at one point I had insurance. One point I didn't have insurance. It was just it was a hard situation to be in. And if you had things that were aggravated from the military, your old injuries, those should have been covered by the VA, where you could have went into the VA and said, "Hey, I have this problem. It should be covered." Well, when you have a low disability rating, the VA is not gonna give you free medical. They're not gonna let you have everything looked for. You're gonna have to pay co-payments and all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of things going on, so it's good to always have something that happened in the military covered by the VA, because that's where it happened. It should be covered. And like I said, um, I don't want to go too far off in another direction with this, but like I said, it's important to have everything covered, to let everyone get care that they need, whether you believe they need that care or not. It's good to cover even past injuries before you get out, and you want to be able to set yourself up to be healthy and to be able to make claims, because it is important, because there are benefits of having VA disability ratings at a certain percentage, due to real injuries, real problems that happen that are still affecting you, because having disabilities, um, you might not think about it now because you're active duty and you're having a good life, you're getting paid first and the 15th, you're having, comrades or BH, you live in the barracks, you're having a good time. You're not going to think about later on in life when, you have some kind of bad injury, like me, my legs. I had leg injuries. Well, now that kind of restricts you from what kind of work you can do. You know, then you might have other injuries like an eye injury or hearing injury, or some kind of ailment that affects you some way negatively, and you're not going to be able to get the type of job you want to get. You might not be able to maintain the kind of work that you've been trained for and you're able to do, and that affects the amount of money that you can earn. So if you can't earn because of an injury that you received when you were young in the military serving your country, that's what the VA disability is for. It's to offset that inability to earn. If I know with my injuries and my degree and my background and my work experience, I can't do the things I was doing when I first got out, when I was in, even up until 10 years after I got out. I can't go back and do those same jobs because the joint issues, the joint pain, some of the other issues I have. So it's really affected, my ability to earn, as well as other veterans. And that's something that, I don't wish on anybody, but it could happen to you, especially if you've been hurt. Now, if you're active duty and you're watching this and you're like, well, I've never been hurt. Well, that's fine. You don't have to put in a claim if nothing ever happened, but this is good education for you because you might know someone who's about to get out of the military. Like they've been in for 8 years, or they've been in for 4 years, and they took a spill. You saw them roll an ankle, fall down, and smack their face on the ground, and you laughed at them, like everyone else would, and told him, hey man, or hey you, hey, go walk it off, take some Motrin, head to the barracks, that looked like it hurt, and you might tell them, spread that information to them, like, hey, remember when you got hurt a couple years ago? You need to go to medical and get that checked, at least annotated, or at least some kind of record made to where you can tell that you've been hurt, because a head injury, you don't know how bad it was, and you don't know how to affect you later on in life, and whatnot. So if you can't use this for yourself personally, and you shouldn't use this if you never had that problem, you can't make a claim up. Everyone will tell you how hard it is to put a claim in with the VA. You got to go through your primary care provider. You have to go through VA doctors. You've already went through military doctors, and if things don't exist, they don't exist. There's no way that you can get approved. Even with some records, you won't get approved. Still. So, like I said, you can't use it, but maybe someone who can, and you can help them. You can guide them. You want to be able to have everyone set up for success, because unfortunately, it is something that a lot of us have to face. A lot of us have faced when we got out, was not thinking too much about how much we sacrificed physically while we were in the military. You don't think about how broke down your body got, how physical it was. You don't think about how things you did to serve your country, whether you deployed or not, whether you fought in combat or not, whether you never left the states or not. You're not thinking about how whatever happened to you and what you did is going to prevent you from having a successful, lucrative life later on, because what you're trained at doing, you might be looking at law enforcement, and you come to find out, well, you have all these conditions and you have physical disabilities. You can't do that. You can't run. You can't drag the dummy when you're doing the test. The training for it and whatnot. Or you might not be able to sit for a long period of time just because some kind of issue that you had, or issue that you have now that developed from an injury when you're in. So yeah, a lot of people don't want to think about the future, or don't, just don't have that inclination. I know I didn't, and a lot of things bit me in the bud. But I was still able to learn some things, because some people told me some information. They learned it from someone. They learned it. That person learned it from someone else, and so now I'm trying to help you, and hopefully you can help yourself and help others around you, and know why it is important. Because I know there's a lot of people who don't want to put in claims because, like, I didn't earn it, or it's a drain or whatever. Well, like I said, I've named off many reasons why it is not a drain, why it's something that if it happened to you, why you're entitled to it. It's not something that's given away freely. It's actually earned, and you have to sacrifice more than just your body, but your future almost, and your ability to earn. So, like I said, don't ever feel like you need to hold back and push through something, and just walk it off. Yeah, walk it off at first, but always get checked. And always let people get checked, and get things checked that happened a long time ago. That way, it saves you a lot of frustration for the future and a lot of problems for the future. So that's it. If you like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll have other videos in the future where I'm also talking to veterans about VA claims and disability and other veteran issues. So, and I'll also talk about other active duty stuff. So, you can scroll through my videos and see what's going on and what new things I put out. But I hope this helped you. It was some information that I was able to use. That maybe I would have been better off if I had more of this information I just gave you before I got out. But I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and if this helped you out, let me know. If this was able to enable you to help someone else out, let me know. I don't mind talking to my viewers, my subscribers. I like to get to talk to people and then know, like, if I had any kind of effect on them and whatnot. So go ahead and help people if you can. That's what it's about. When you're in the military, when I was in the military, we looked out for each other in my platoon, in my squad, and whatever. We helped each other. We tried to make sure everybody was fine, everything was good to go for everyone. We wanted everyone to have the same kind of opportunities we had, and so this is something that you can do for others. So appreciate it. Thank you, and have a good day.